This right here is a patch bay. This is how I run all my equipment in this room and do it very easily. I'm going to show you how I have this routed. I'm going to show you the differences between normal, half normal, and through. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about patch bays real quick. This is the patch bay that I use. It's a Samson S Patch Plus 48-point balanced patch bay. And the reason I got this patch bay is because it has these switches up front. Now, if you see them, these switches are for normal, half normal, and through. Now, the thing that does for the patch bay is when on the back of your patch bay, you have all the outputs. The way I have mine routed is I have my MPC and my first two, right? So the top part here is the outputs of my MPC. Okay, so my left and right output. So what that does when I plug that in here, my outputs, that puts my outputs in the front right here. Okay, so let's see this little diagram I have, my beautiful handwriting. My MPC lives in 1 and 2, and then on the bottom is your inputs. On the bottom, I have my Focusrite sound card inputs. So what I can do is if I have my MPC live and the first two outputs, now these are my outputs now for my MPC live, my left and right outputs. Now, if I want to put them in my Focusrite sound card in the inputs 3 and 4, being that I have all the inputs routed out the back here, if I wanted it in 3 and 4, then I could just go to the bottom here and plug it into 3 and 4. Or if I wanted it in my Focusrite sound card into 1 and 2, bam. Now my MPC outputs are going into my Focusrite sound card into 1 and 2. The reason I do this, I know things have changed a little bit with computers and people use a lot of in-the-box plugins, but I use a lot of outboard effects. I have a compressor outboard, I have a mic pre-out outboard, and then I also have all my keyboards that I like to route different ways. So let's say I want my MPC live. You can see here I have my ART compressor into 11 and 12, right? So if I want my MPC live outputs to go into my compressor, I would put them in the input 11 and 12. And then what I can do is take the outputs then of that compressor, and then I could put them into my Focusrite sound card 1 and 2. So what this is doing is taking the outputs of my MPC live, running it into my compressor now, going out of my compressor, and then into my sound card for recording. This is the reason I use a patch bay. So even if I had my keyboard now on 3 and 4, I could take my keyboard stereo outputs on 3 and 4, and if I wanted those to go through the compressor, then I could just push those into the compressor. So it's just easier for me to have everything into this patch bay instead of going into the back of a bunch of different equipment and then trying to route things that way. So my patch bay has 3 different modes, and that's the reason why I bought it. It has this normal, half normal, and through modes with these little switches you can see here on the front that I can click back and forth. Okay. Now my MPC, I have normaled. And what that does with normal is the chain continues without anything plugged into the front. This signal chain won't break until I plug something into the front. Then the signal flow will stop, and then my MPC outputs are now coming out of here. So if I wanted to put it into my patch bay, if I wanted to put it into my compressor, I could patch it into here, and then to get that signal flow back from my MPC, I plug it into my Focusrite sound card. Now that continues the sequence. The only way to continue this sequence, if you plug something into the top, is to continue the signal flow down to the bottom to route it. If I don't have anything plugged in when it's on normal mode, the signal flow is already happening. Half normal mode is going to do a similar thing, but if I plug into these outputs, the signal flow is still going. So if I had a signal with my MPC live going into my Focusrite sound card, and I plugged into the back of these, now these are my MPC outputs, the signal flow is still going to be going into my sound card until I break this signal, until I actually go, and plug something into these inputs and break that signal. So I'd still be able to listen to it like this, plug it in to my compressor, plug it in. That signal flow would still be happening until I go like this, plug them in, and then break that signal flow, and then I'd have it into my compressor. Through mode, it needs to be wired. Through mode, if I was playing my MPC live now and had this on through mode, nothing would be coming through until I actually plugged something in and routed it. So those are your 3 different PatchBay modes. I tried to explain this the best way I could. I hope you guys understood it. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. I appreciate you guys watching. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It always helps me. I'll be doing some more of these videos. If you have any questions, hit me up with any questions. I'll do my best to try to explain. Thanks again for watching, everybody. I'm the DD. This is my dead friends.